The year is 2025. Solana is experiencing rapid on-chain growth, mass adoption by retail and institutions alike. Anatoly Yakovenko has become an all-star celebrity, our very own Elon Musk inside of cryptocurrency. And with the aged and lackluster performance of Ethereum so far in this bull market, Solana looks primed and ready to continue a massive uptrend. Today, why Solana will hit $1,000 soon. Today, a $93 billion juggernaut faces off with Ethereum in a battle that seems as old as time. But first, some background. In 2017, a former team lead for developing operating systems at Qualcomm named Anatoly Yakovenko co-founded what would end up becoming one of the largest cryptocurrencies in the history of the world, reaching $125 billion in recent days. Solana is now the chief competitor of Ethereum. Fast forward 7 years, and although Solana has seen its fair share of hurdles, it is now performing spectacularly. With an almost perfect uptime, not seeing an outage since exactly 1 year since this video was made, February 6th of 2024, Solana has overcome many of the growing pains that it has been witnessing since its inception. But today isn't a history of Solana. Today is my explanation of why I believe Solana is going to hit $1,000 and why it's going to happen soon. This video is intended to explain to you why I am investing in Solana and why you should consider doing the same. If you didn't already know, we buy Bitcoin every single day, and I am heavily considering, because of what we're going to talk about in this video, starting to buy Solana every single day as well. Tell me in the comment section down below, do you buy Solana every day, and should we? First reason why Solana is probably going to hit $1,000. It's kicking the crap out of Ethereum. Although Solana does have a much smaller total value lock sitting at $9 billion compared to $58 billion on Ethereum, the revenue from Solana has exploded in recent months. Ever since the beginning of 2024, daily revenue for Solana has jumped from $200,000 to an average of over $4 million. On January 9th of 2025, which was less than a month ago, we saw a $17 million revenue day for Solana at a $12 billion TVL. Compare this with the fact that Ethereum has seen a massive crash in its revenue generation for the stakers, especially ever since ETH 2.0 took over and the miners disappeared. Solana is massively taking over in the metrics of revenue generation for the people that are actually validating the network. That probably has a lot to do with the fact that Solana was built natively as a proof of stake token, whereas Ethereum was not. Why are we comparing Ethereum and Solana? The reason is because we can see where Ethereum has gone before, and that's going to give us some context later on as to why we believe that Solana is going to trade at $1,000 per coin. It's also important to note that ever since January 1st of 2024, we have seen Solana's TVL increase from $1.4 billion recently to nearly $14 billion. In that same time, from January 1st of 2024 to right now, we've only seen Ethereum's TVL double from $30 billion to $60 billion. It's still larger, but the rate of growth is astronomically smaller, a double versus a 10x. So far we've discussed how Solana has gotten its outages out of its system. We've discussed how it's beating Ethereum in the most important metrics, revenue generation for the people that are validating the network and total value locked. We also have got to talk a little bit about what's a realistic price target for Solana. Because after all, I am not interested in providing you guys with an unrealistic price target. I am a Christian and I actually want to be honest with you guys about our price targets. I don't ever want to make a video and say, oh my gosh, Solana's going to go to $25,000 just to get your hopes up, and then you get screwed over and left holding the bag at the end of the bull market. No, instead, we're going to make some realistic price targets. So what would $1,000 Solana mean from a market capitalization standpoint, and is that even possible? Before we get there, I want to talk about one of my other chief concerns for Solana because it actually plays into how we come up with the answer to that question, and that would be the inflation schedule for Solana. For a long time, I've been very much against Solana for a couple of different reasons, mainly the outages, mainly the inflation. Part of the reason that I am now much more for Solana and why my tune is changing on Solana is because it's starting to show that those two areas are not as big of a concern. Again, as of today, February 6th, when I'm recording this, you're probably seeing this a day later, as of February 6th, it has been exactly 1 year since an outage on Solana, which is part of the reason why I want to make this video. But number two, the inflation is getting under control. The proposed inflation schedule for Solana looks a little bit like this: 8% at the beginning, tapering off to about 1.5%, which will stay stagnant after about 10 years. That is just a few years away, putting our current annual inflation around 3%. Now, I am almost a Bitcoin maxi. We've got over 70% of our position in Bitcoin, so I don't like inflation. Not a big fan of it. It's one of the reasons I got into cryptocurrency in the first place. But there is a decent reason why Solana is having inflation, and it kind of makes sense. The main reason is because Solana is a proof-of-stake cryptocurrency, and it has to do a lot of things very well. It has to do decentralization very well, it has to do governance very well, and it has to have a very high transactional throughput. To accomplish all of those goals at the same time, you've got to be able to pay the validators quite a bit to make the entire network operate. And the easiest way to do that is to bake into this protocol a little bit of inflation to keep the gears turning, if you will. You can think of it like grease in an engine. It keeps things lubricated. Do I like it? No. Is 1.5% something that we can live with if that actually is what happens? Yes, because most likely Solana is going to grow much faster than 1.5% for many decades to come because of how revolutionary its technology is and how much is being built on top of it as we speak. The reason that I mention that in the price target is because we're going to come up with whether or not $1,000 is realistic based on the market capitalization, because that's where the price target actually comes from. If Doge were to go to $1,000, its market capitalization would be bigger than the rest of the entire global economy, so it's completely ridiculous. But Bitcoin going to $1,000, that would be a cataclysmic crash because of its lower supply. The supply of the token that we're discussing, therefore, is incredibly important to the discussion about where the price target is and whether it's realistic. Here's the consideration. I expect that Solana is going to hit $1,000 within the next 3 years. It's probably going to happen during the Trump administration, and it very well may happen this bull market because of all the ETFs that are coming out. We'll talk about that in a minute. But whether or not $1,000 is realistic comes down to one question. Is the market capitalization that would be necessitated by $1,000 Solana price realistic? Yes. Currently, Solana has a circulating supply of about 485 million Solana. We can pretty comfortably round that to about 500 million, which would actually be smart because that would take into account the next year or so of inflation. That essentially means that for every $200 in price on Solana, we're looking at roughly a $100 billion market capitalization. Doing some simple math, if we multiply $200 Solana by 5, which would be $1,000 Solana, that gives us just shy of a $500 billion market capitalization to achieve $1,000 Solana. So the next obvious question is a $500 billion market capitalization, $500 billion market cap, realistic for Solana within the next 3 to 4 years here during the Trump presidency? I think so. You're about to see why we compared Solana to Ethereum, because if you didn't already know, Ethereum has had a $500 billion market capitalization before. In fact, its all-time high is $550 billion 3 years ago. By the way, according to Statista, since then, in the last 3 years, the total global users of cryptocurrency has probably 5x'd. So considering, track with me here, Solana is beating Ethereum at its own game. It's better at proof of stake. It's not going down anymore. It has a far superior programming language. Rust is way better than Solidity. It's much more powerful and programmers much prefer it. It's got a higher revenue generation for the stakers than the stakers do on Ethereum by a huge, huge margin. When you consider the fact that we've got a ton of exchange traded funds coming probably this year for Solana, considering the overall sentiment that the market experiences right now, that people are getting tired of Ethereum not moving. I mean, the goodness gracious, the meme of somebody poking Ethereum with a stick saying, come on, do something. That meme is everywhere. Considering all these factors, it stands to reason that Solana would rally to the same market cap that Ethereum was 3 years ago, especially considering there's 5 times as many people in crypto today as there was back then, and the technology is way better. It's an obvious deal. $500 billion market cap for Solana is very easy to see, and that would put Solana at $1,000 a coin. But what would that look like technically? You see, $1,000 Solana does seem a little bit difficult to swallow, considering it would be over a 400% rally, and it would completely dwarf everything that Solana's done so far. But isn't that the story of Ethereum? Isn't that exactly what Ethereum did during the last bull market in 2020 and 2021? Completely dwarf everything that it had ever done before, because the global demand for decentralized finance is exploding, as you have individuals like Elon Musk talking about putting the entire United States Treasury on a blockchain. Are you kidding me? We're probably watching 100 million new users a month coming into the cryptocurrency space. Of course Solana can blow away anything it's done before. People that think this bull market is over do not understand the writing on the wall. The deeper that we fall on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, etc., the larger the rally is going to be, and the better the entry that we're going to get. But let me hammer it home for you, because I know you guys love your Fibonacci's, especially on these price targets. If we were to draw a Fibonacci extension off of the previous bull market all-time high, which was roughly $250, down to the bear market bottom, which was roughly $5, we can see that the 2.618 Fibonacci extension would be sitting at $650. The 3.618 Fibonacci extension would be sitting at $890, and the 4.236 Fibonacci extension would be sitting at $1,043. Many times in bull markets, Bitcoin will go to 4.236. It's happened before, such as with Ethereum. We saw Ethereum rally all the way up to the 3.618 Fibonacci extension here at $5,000 during the previous bull market, and if things hadn't been cut short because of geopolitics having to do with rising interest rates, quantitative tightening, and the war beginning in Ukraine, you probably would have seen Ethereum go to $6,000 as well, considering 2020 and 2021 was honestly a stunted bull market. If Solana does this bull market, the same thing that Ethereum did in the last bull market, we would be expecting Solana to rally to between $900 and $1,050. So is $1,000 realistic? From a fundamental standpoint, yes. From a regulatory standpoint, yes. From an adoption standpoint, yes. From ETFs being approved standpoint, yes. From a market capitalization standpoint, yes. From a competitive advantage over Ethereum, from the programming language to the fees from the stakers to the overall TVL growth being a 10x in 13 months, whereas Ethereum just doubled, $1,000 any which way you slice it makes a lot of sense for Solana. So that leaves us with two final questions. Number one, when is that going to happen? And number two, what should we do about it? The first part of that question, when is that going to happen, is a tricky one. Because quite frankly, we have never seen the United States federal government bullish on crypto at all, let alone as bullish as it is. So honestly, the entire 4-year cycle could be going out the window this time. This has already been an extremely long bull market, and it doesn't seem like it's over anytime soon. So the best I'm gonna give you today with what little we know, since it would be a 5x to get to 1,000, is that we're probably going to see that happen not in 2025, but probably in 2026 or later. This is an event that will probably happen at least 12 months from now. But two, and what should we do about it? Well, let's break that up into two further questions. How do we buy and how do we sell? The first thing that I'm considering doing right now, and I will give you guys an update if we choose to pull the trigger on it, is I'm considering to start buying Solana on a daily basis the same way that we buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cardano on a daily basis. We buy just a tiny little bit of Ethereum and Cardano on a daily basis, but we've been buying Bitcoin on a daily basis every day for well over 2 months. I've been acquiring Bitcoin for a very long time, over 7 years, and I am considering to do the same thing with Solana because I want to increase our bags. I think that it's got a long way to go, and I also am interested in holding Solana for the ultra long term because I don't think it's just going to do well in this cycle. I think it's going to do well for a very long time thereafter. This would be more like picking a stock to me rather than picking the future of finance like I am in Bitcoin, but I am very interested in daily dollar cost averaging into Solana, so stay tuned. We very well may end up doing that, and I would highly consider doing the same thing for you. If you're not already dollar cost averaging, definitely something you ought to think about. How should we liquidate here though? I think it's important to make sure that we consider that Solana is seemingly taking over Ethereum. If it's going to do that, then we should dog ear a portion of our investment in Solana for the long term and say, hey, I'm not going to touch this for 5 years. 10 years. I'm going to hold this for a very long time. I'm holding Ethereum that I bought at $180 years ago, 2020 kind of territory, right when COVID was starting. And I'm very glad I do. Probably not going to sell it anytime soon. Even if Solana starts to beat Ethereum, then maybe, but I'm holding it for the very long term. And that's what we're doing with our Solana right now also. We're holding a good portion of it for the very long term. And I would encourage you to consider to do the same. To recap, can Solana go to $1,000? By every single angle, yes, it can, and it makes sense. Number two, when will that happen? Probably not this year, because it's probably going to take longer than 10 months to do so. It's probably going to happen in 2026 or later, but probably before the end of the decade. Number three, what should we be doing about that? We need to consider what strategy we are going to use to invest in Solana if we actually believe everything that we talked about in this video, that it is going to beat Ethereum and it can go to $1,000, then we ought to consider how we're going to invest. For me, I personally prefer daily because it means the amount of the coin that I'm holding goes up every single day. And number four, how should we liquidate? Honestly, you split it up into two camps. Number one, this is my long-term holdings. I'm not touching it indefinitely. I may come back in 3-5 years, change my mind, but for right now, I'm just going to hold it basically forever. It's going to become part of my strategic reserve, if you will. And then you should also have a portion of it that you consider selling for this cycle, because if it does hit $1,000, it'll probably go into a big bear market, drop down to $300, $400, and then that's where you would be able to use some of those proceeds to reacquire at lower levels. If you enjoyed today's video and you want to learn more about how to build wealth, I highly encourage you to check out the Financial Sovereignty Academy. In the Financial Sovereignty Academy, we're going to teach you how to get out of debt, build wealth, invest for the future, and live prosperously when it comes to your finances. If you guys didn't know, I am actually a financial coach, and I teach something called financial sovereignty, which is this philosophy that I have about controlling our money so that it benefits us, so that we're not slaves to it, so that we can go to awesome places like this Airbnb that's got its own movie theater. This thing's awesome. We're about to rock this here in a couple of hours, me and my family. If you want to learn how to build the kind of wealth that we have built in the cryptocurrency space, I highly encourage you to check out the Financial Sovereignty Academy with the link in the description box down below. We've got a lot of new content coming out there. We got several edited videos that are going to be coming to add to the course very soon, and I am going to teach you there exactly how to build wealth the same way that you see us doing here on the channel. But I'm going to go in deep, and I'm going to show you all the little details, all the things that we don't always talk about here on YouTube, so that you can understand exactly what you need to do to build wealth, whether you have $0 or whether you've got $10 million and you want to go on farther. The Financial Sovereignty Academy is for any of you guys that want to be more prosperous financially. I will show every single one of you how to do so. So make sure to check out Financial Sovereignty Academy, taught by your very own Crypto Jeb, with the link in the description box down below. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share it with somebody that you think will find it entertaining. And before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.